And we're live. Hi everyone. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock and it's Spiritual Talk. Hi Jane.
Hi Paul. Hi everyone. I'm
Here
so
we
happy
go.
to be back on Spiritual Talk. It's
Great
nice
to
to be
have
here.
you back. It's
Thank
brilliant to
you.
see you.
Thank you. It's great to see you too.
Hi Jane and welcome back.
Thank you so much. I always miss being on the show when I'm not here. But last week I did get pulled on, so.
You did. You got the message, didn't you?
Yes.
I don't know what it is. And also when we practice pressing that button to do the intro, I always seem to cut you off. We need to practice that a little bit more.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay. Well, this week we've got another great guest over, haven't we, Jane?
Yes, we do. We're very lucky that he's come here today.
Absolutely. We've got a gentleman called Paul Goddard. He practices NLP and also hypnotherapy, but he also specializes in past life regression. Should we get Paul on straight away?
Oh, we definitely should.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hello there.
Hi, Paul.
If you don't mind, can you introduce yourself in a bit more in depth? Because there's a lot more to it than what I just said.
No, I mean, it was fine. It was in a nutshell what I do. So I started off learning NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, literally to get myself over a fear of rejection. And I was delighted with how it improved my life. And I wanted to be a nightclub DJ, a radio broadcaster at one point, and that's when the fear of rejection was coming in. And I did have some sort of success, but I was sort of held back from the bigger stuff because I kind of thought people would think, what makes me expect for us to want an online like you when I phone them up over the phone with possibly some swearing thrown in it as well. So I started to learn NLP to help myself, and it was actually at that point I thought, this is what I really want to do with my life. So I started in 2006 learning NLP. It went from diploma to practitioner to master practitioner. Between that I learned hypnotherapy, and some of that involved past life regressions. And from that point onwards, when I just learnt the past life regressions during the hypnotherapy, I was just testing it out on a ghost hunt. I was doing a ghost investigation, and when we were on a break, I said, do you mind if I just practice a couple? And then from that moment, people liked it. My good friend Lyn Cinderey booked me for a couple of events, and then because I was getting more into past life regressions, I also joined with Maria Wheatley, who teaches past life regressions. Did a couple of courses with her. So although I do NLP and hypnotherapy, and a lot of my day job is helping people out with their stuck state to want to get to their desired state, I'm kind of mostly known for the past life regression work that I do. And particularly during lockdown, I was invited on quite a lot of live streams because a lot of the ghost hunting crew would do it not as a business but as a hobby, so they weren't able to go out and film, so they're kind of stuck wondering what to do. So during that time I was really busy doing live regressions with people, talking about the past lives. So yeah, and I haven't regretted it. I absolutely love it, and I find it absolutely fascinating, and I just love exploring and learning more about it.
Yeah, awesome. So everyone's sitting at home going, past life regression. Now, it's such a major subject to talk about. And I don't know where to start, to be honest. I know you said you was doing having a paranormal or doing a paranormal experience, and you asked if you could practice on someone. Now, wow, there's so much within that. Had you practiced that, or something you found that you could do whilst doing your hypnotherapy? Somebody had an experience?
Yeah, so part of the first with the celestial training that was past life regression. So we practiced on each other. So I was getting regressions through the team that I was with at the time which I was learning this, I was as a venue assistant in a music venue, which was really cool. Really loved that. But to get known for it, you have to get some practice in. And I decided I had 3 people and had a bit of an audience as well. But you know what? When you're doing paranormal investigations, when you see it on TV, you see all the best bits. Most of the time, it's a lot of a waiting round in the dark for something to jump out and say boo, or for something to happen. So it kind of created a little bit of interest. So I did know that I could do the past life regressions at this point, but I just thought it'd be something really good to practice, because when you're on a hypnotherapy training course, one of the things that you have to expect when you're doing hypnotherapy training, particularly the one which I did, which was an intensive training course, you're going in and out of hypnosis all the time. So people are very used to going to hypnosis. By the end of it, you could literally say, can you sit in that chair, please, and go into a deep trance, and you'll be able to do it because people are going to it that regularly. But to actually then do people that hadn't been through that experience, hadn't been taught, was good. And it wasn't long after that I started really thinking, okay, I'm going to take this on as my proper business now. And from that point is when I slowly started to do less of the night work when I was working, and start doing more. So eventually, a few years ago, I think it's about 2016, 2017, I fully stopped work and went full self-employed.
We should also say to people that are listening, Paul has also agreed to do a live regression session. Although there is a little caveat to that, Paul. I'll let you explain that.
Yeah, so if there is anybody that has clinical depression, epilepsy, or any issue like that they're under doctor's care, it's always advisable that they seek medical advice. It's not that if you don't have it, it's not going to trigger it at all, but it's just one of those things, particularly as well, is that you don't have the care and attention I could have while somebody's sat with me at the time. It's just something that we're all told to do as hypnotherapists to cover ourselves, as you can imagine that it's important to do that.
So in terms of when you're regressing someone, has anybody ever had a bad experience? I mean, how deep do they go into their experience?
I would have said if you interviewed me a couple of years back, maybe a few years back, a couple of years back, that everybody knows that they're who they are. They'll know that they're in the chair. They'll know that, everything that's happening around them. But occasionally, very occasionally, I think this is probably, I haven't done the exact figure to work it out, but I'd say roughly about 1 in 1,000 will have an incredibly vivid experience, like it's actually there for them. But it's also important to know that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, so I actually don't have any control over somebody. I help guide somebody into that state called hypnosis, and a lot of it is to do with pacing and leading. Like I have done a lot of talks now where I end up hypnotising the entire audience, and that's rather good fun, seeing people slumped over in their chair in hypnosis. But you kind of got to go at a general sort of speed. But when you've got somebody individually, you can just begin to see them relaxing, and then give more suggestions to help them relax. So all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. You're just helping to guide them into that state.
Great question from Jay. I've just quickly looked at it, Jay. I haven't quite seen the full question, and it's kind of relevant. Have you found that, or do you believe that past lives can hold someone back in this life?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have mentioned the story a few times, because it's important to realise that if anybody turns up and comes to my therapy room or have online sessions, that what happens between us, unless they say, will stay between us. But when I'm doing talks and things, I said, do you mind if I say this? One that comes to mind, but there's several that come to mind, but one that is a good example is that a lady, this was during one of the live performances, it was actually when everybody was hypnotised. Okay. She went back to a time in a previous life when she was a businessman, and in past life regression you can be male or female, and during this time as a business person, they were kind of a hoarder, they were miser. They were just wanting to collect money. They were so focused on their business and growing their wealth that it was only this person that, when they're in the past life, realised when they were coming towards the end of their life, and when they were too sick and they weren't that healthy anymore, they were thinking, what have I done? I've just wasted all these years of what I could have had quality time with my family. So in the life that she was living now, she wasn't holding on to the money as she should do. She was spending it, giving it away too much. But actually, after having that experience of being this other person, afterwards she was able to have more of a work-life balance, and I'm pleased to say that it's still going good. So sometimes I do healing work in the regressions, but sometimes just by experiencing that, it can just shift stuff.
So is that by suggestion, the healing takes place?
It is by suggestion. So quite often we have emotional healing which may need to take place. We might have physical healing that needs to take place, and on a very sort of energetic level, when I do a regression, it's important to know that I just kind of ask them to move further forward, move further back, kind of ask questions what you're doing at the age of 20, but I never sort of influence. So if somebody looks like they're, for example, one of the ones I did live, there was a boat that looks like it was going to capsize, I then would say move forward, another 5 years and what's happening now. And quite often, if they have passed away, the usual thing they say, I can't see anything, or that because it's gone past their time, so I'll then take them back. But if they're in that moment where it looks like they're going to die at that point, I don't say, now go to your last day, because sometimes they would skip forward, say, to they're about 70, and it isn't actually in their 30s where it looks like it's going to be. Also, as well, you don't want to influence anyone. So during the regression, I'm so careful that I don't influence anybody. But after the regression is experienced, I then get the understanding from the life, see if there's any lessons from that life, and then I get them from their subconscious mind to talk to their higher self, to go to like a healing place, and say if they were shot, that they'll then visualize spiritual guides, spiritual friends around them, removing, like a surgeon, the bullet, stitching it all back up, healing them, putting in healing balm. If there's emotional, sometimes I mention it as like an icy feeling around the heart, and that's melting. Yeah. So by doing that, and it's important when you actually do the healing, even if somebody comes just for purely interest sake, I make sure I sit there with the healing, is that you make sure you take that time with the healing, make sure you sit with them as they're experiencing the surgeon removing the bullet or whatever it could be, or removing the pain from the past life. So, but it does help. Like there was a lady that I had that was on the Titanic, and some people could say, oh, Titanic's such a famous case, that it's bound to, but I can literally count on one hand all the really kind of cases which are interesting and actually quite well-known, documented ones. Most people's past lives are quite mundane, usually quite a struggle. As my last live that I did, it was quite a struggle for the person. But after having that experience of this lady drowning on the Titanic, in that life, she lost a fear of water, which is, and she never came because she had a fear of water. She was just curious, but it was like, oh, I'm much better now after this experience.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, that's understandable. Just want to say, just in case people think I've put Jane on on mute, I haven't. Everybody, poor Jane's got the builders just turned up out of the blue. She's had so much building work coming on, so apologies. Jane is here, and she can hear us, and but she's had to mute herself because the builders are very busy. So just quickly going back, Paul, I want to go back a little bit because you've gone really fast, really quickly. And I want to say to you, what if I sat at home and didn't believe in past life regression?
Well, to be honest, I never wished to really convince anybody of anything. I mean, the more I've done this, the more I'm certainly a believer in past lives. But I'm quite fine for people not to believe it. It's not my job to say it is true, it isn't. If people are interested, they can come to me. And I like to put kind of, although I'm more believer, but in what used to be known as the old-fashioned Greek sense of the word of skeptic, which now when people think of skeptic, it's a naysayer, whereas in the old-fashioned Greek sense of the word, it was one that had not reached a conclusion. So they keep on exploring. And there's lots of things that people say about twin flames, soul contracts and all that. I tend to, the work that I do is just what I experience with somebody in the chair and the questions that I ask. But I'm also a big fan of Dr. Ian Stevenson, who went around the world investigating children with spontaneous past life claims. And a spontaneous past life claim is when a child's young, when they're sort of just at the stage when they begin to talk and form in sentences more properly. We'll talk about they want to go back to their real mother. You're not my real mother.
There's actually a lady tonight watching the show that her son is having experiences very similar.
Fantastic. And what I would say to that lady is either record it or write it down.
Oh, no,
so let's see. So
sounds
all right, excellent. Yeah, I think that it's really important that she records it, writes it down, because I hear so many times when I give my talks that somebody said, well, my son, who's now 14, when he was about 4 years old, was talking about this, and now his memories are faded, and it was something like this. So really write it down, so you've got a record of it, or record it. Is even better.
It's quite precious, isn't it? It's quite precious to have that.
Indeed,
and I've heard.
Indeed.
I mean, I've also followed a lot of those kind of stories, and I believe there's a place in America where they research people that are born with scars that they believe are from a past life experience.
Yeah, I think I know Jim Tucker does that. I'm not sure if it's Dr. Jim Tucker's work that you're mentioning about, but
potentially.
Yeah, I know that Ian Stevenson also collated evidence as well, and the scars, and also as well, they say that if it's quite a traumatic death, that can have a stronger memory in the next life. And what was interesting in Dr. Ian Stevenson and Dr. Jim Tucker, because they worked together for a time before Ian Stevenson passed away. But if a child was talking about being shot, quite often there would be like a birthmark where the bullet went in. But if they say the bullet passed through them, there would be a larger birthmark on the back, which would have been where the exit is. And anybody who's a forensic person will know that when a bullet goes through the body, it leaves a larger wound at the back. So the scar where they say the bullet passed out from is often larger.
It's interesting. Jamie Lee's asked that question. I was once told a medium that birthmarks are the marks from a past life. Is that true?
Yeah, it's well, if you believe the research, then yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do you think, what part, so because I believe we're one soul into many bodies. I think it was Brian Weiss that had that book, Same Soul, Different Body. And I think Sharon as well. Sharon's just mentioned that. So why do you think we don't remember our past life?
It's a good question. Talking to mediums, they often say that you're put back. I mean, I don't know every single medium, but this is a lot of the ones that talk to me say that we think of it from a human experience, and why don't we remember? And a lot of them, not all of them, say that they strongly feel that it's so you learn lessons in this life. And if you already knew everything before, you wouldn't learn anything. Also, as well, if you had that absolutely concrete, yes, I can just jump into another life. If, say, your life isn't so good, this one, I guess life wouldn't be so important to so many people that
Absolutely.
if they can just feel they can move to another one.
Oh, well, you just have a quick ending, and we'll go into the next bodies. And see if I can be born into a rich family and have a very, very charmed life. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So where do you think so do you believe that, where do we keep these experiences? Is it within us? Is it within the physical brain? Or is it outside of us consciously? Or
it could be the physical brain. And what's really interesting to kind of some of the things that a skeptical person will say under hypnosis, you can hypnotize somebody and say, go back to being a baby, a newborn, and they will remember it. They will remember the time often of being held in the mother's arms and saying, like, my precious little girl, my precious little boy, etc., etc. And I know a lot of people skeptical about it will say that you don't actually have the memories properly developed by that age in the brain, so that kind of rules out that this could happen. But the interesting thing is that certain scientists aren't 100% sure where memory comes from, because I'll try and put as little details down as possible, but there was an experiment with rats where they would get to go a maze to a treat, and horribly they kind of would experiment on the brain, and no matter how much parts of the brain these scientists would remove, the rats might have very poor physical strength and barely be able to crawl themselves to where they got to go, but they could always remember which direction to go to. So which kind of begs the question, are there some memories out there somewhere, not just all in the head?
Yeah.
Also as well, there is a lot of people say that you have a head brain, a heart brain, a gut brain, and I think it has actually been proven now that you have the same sort of neural kind of connections or nerve cells in the stomach that you would get in a cat brain. So you kind of got a cat brain. So some people talk about their gut feeling. And a friend of mine, his uncle needed to have a liver transplant. And after having the liver transplant, whereas he would just kind of throw any old clothes on, after having the liver transplant, he became pretty fussy about how he dressed. In fact, the first time that they knew about this, they bought a pair of pyjamas in where the top and bottoms didn't match, and he burst into tears, where as before he wouldn't care about it. So there is a lot that you actually have memories from organs as well.
Wow, that's interesting. Jane has asked a question: how do you know the brain isn't making it? Sorry, Jane, this feels very weird. How do you know the brain isn't making the narrative up?
Well, I mean, as I say, I'm a big fan of Ian Stevenson's research, and he was leaning towards the end of his career that there is such thing as reincarnation, although he did admit it wasn't the only interpretation. He said that, I mean, it could be that your brain is making up a metaphor to help you in this life. It could be that you're getting like the source amnesia, which is something that you were told about in school, so or maybe read in a book or seen on a television program. So there are lots of different ways you can do a regression on somebody, and I never say I've got the right way, somebody else got the wrong way. It's just my opinion. But if I was to tell people now not to think of a pink elephant, just think of anything else but a pink elephant, for goodness sake, don't think of a pink elephant, it's there. So I have seen some hypnotists that have done regressions say what you will come up in here is something that you haven't read in a book, that you haven't seen in a film, that you haven't been told at school. And because I do a lot of NLP and I know that the subconscious mind drops the not word, you start hearing heard in a book, read at school, so you can then start programming yourself. So I make sure I don't put suggestions in my regressions apart from they're going back into a past life. It could be that they're getting genetic memory as well, because that's a possibility that it's genetic memory from various people, because they kind of as with the liver transplant, and maybe that memory can go in the genes. Could be also as well extrasensory perception or some sort of channeling. So I kind of think when you do this work, I think that although I am pretty much drawn to past life regressions and you actually do live a past life, but I think it's not one size fits all. I think that the human brain and the subconscious is very good at giving the person what they need in that time. So maybe it is a metaphor for them sometimes, maybe it is a genetic memory sometimes. So I'm not saying every single time tick it's going to be this. I think it's just to open yourself to the possibility, and that there's many different answers. How much more exciting is that?
So we've had two people ask exactly the same question. So hi, Serena and Rhonda. So basically I'm just going to put Serena's up quickly. It'll be easier to do it that way. Here you go. So when you have a feeling of deja vu, could that be a past life memory?
It could be. It could be a past life memory. There is also, I've heard as well, that it might be a miniature blackout, where you get somewhere and it's like that quick. But because it's that quick and you shut off and remember, You haven't really shut down. It's like, I've been here before. But, I wouldn't be surprised if it is connected to past lives. And you certainly hear stories of people that have gone to battlefields before and kind of felt all shaky and dropped to the floor because they're overcome with emotions and they don't know why, and then when done their research afterwards. So I think it's a huge possibility it could be connected to past lives, but it's not the only interpretation either.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few. Suzanne, actually, there's a few more questions. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to keep up with the questions. I love it when people send our questions in. So, Onda's asked a really good question here. I wonder, what is the furthest you have taken someone back? So, is that historically, or I'm not sure, but historically, is there a key marker where people stop?
The furthest I've gone back is to hunter-gatherer times. That's kind of the furthest that I've personally gone back with people. However, I tend to find most people, it tends to be it's 1600s onwards. It just might be because it's more fresh in the soul's memory or something like that, and maybe it was a slightly more simpler life, but it just doesn't mean people don't go back to that. But when I get people, I say which door they're drawn to go through. Sorry, because I'll explain. There are many different ways of getting a past life. One of the ones that I do, and though it's not the only one that I do, is have a corridor that is basically, I tell her their subconscious mind will come up with a corridor, because that corridor is the doorway to take somebody to a past life. And I sort of say which one you feel is best to go to and you're most drawn to, so they allow themselves to go through to it to experience what they want to experience that time. So it can be any time, but the majority of them seem to be with me 1600s onwards, but there are ones further back than that as well.
So why do you think that is then? Is that just because it's more relevant to this particular lifetime?
Probably it's relevant. I think that people are drawn to something where they get some understanding from, because quite often when people go, oh, that's interesting. Funnily enough, a lot of my regressions, because you do hear a lot of people saying, if somebody's really interested in the medieval time, although this happens as well, but if somebody's really interested in the medieval time, they'll go back to medieval time because they've had a past life in that. And then if you're skeptical, they'll say, because they're really interested in that, it's because their mind's just coming up with stuff, so that's why they go back to that time. But I tend to find that you get people say, I've just been fascinated with the 1400s and what was going on in France at that time, just picking something out random there, and they'll say that, and they say, I'm sure I'm going to go back to that. And there'll be like a chimney sweep in the sort of mid 1800s to late 1800s, so it's like I wasn't expecting to go there.
Yeah. I've just missed that. Lindsay says
Hi,
she
Lindsay.
was 1400. She was the 1400s.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Was that this country? I'm sorry, Lindsay. Can we talk about it? Was it this country or was it another country? It'd be interesting to know, because that's the other thing. So I know people that have had brain injuries. Like there was a gentleman that dived into a swimming pool, knocked himself unconscious because he hit the floor.
Yes.
And he woke up and he was speaking Italian.
Yes, I have heard about that. That's absolutely incredible. And also as well, I heard another one where he did exactly the same thing and was able to play the piano to concert level and just basically picked up a sheet of music and just was able to do it. So it can be a trigger for people with sort of brain injuries sometimes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Also, this is a good one. That is really interesting, Julie. Has anyone you have regressed been an animal?
Yes, there have been. The ones that I can remember now, one was a whale. Interesting experience. Funny enough, there was somebody actually, they claimed to be a dinosaur. Not during one of my regressions, but they said they kept having vivid dreams as a child of kind of like something hitting the earth and having little arms and then falling over. I've had somebody who was an ape during a live one. And, I'm always, I think if you can jump bodies with the soul, if you can be male or female, I think why not be an animal as well? I do find for some people, though, that can be a little bit of a stretch, and you see them go, oh, okay. But you know, I'm totally open to that. It can be an animal, particularly with a whale. It becomes a little bit more difficult to ask certain questions. Particularly, you know, when you're if they're doing it for interest and research, you can ask what street was your house in, which town, what's the name of your local church, names, dates, and things like that. You can't particularly do that with a whale, but they were very happy to swim in.
So then, therefore, when we say we can come back as an ant, you could possibly come back as an ant. So we could be leading down the Buddhist philosophy that we could be reincarnated as anything, because they believe in actually, I think theirs is more of a pyramid. You go up the scale as you move forward. So are we top of the tree as humans? I don't know.
Well, we don't know. Maybe we go higher after that.
Well, maybe there's more species around us. Who knows?
Exactly. And Michael Payne, when he went to visit the Dalai Lama and had his monks write up thing, and they said that he was an elephant in a past life.
Nice.
Oh wow! Pat's made a good statement. Actually, anybody? Oh, Jane, are you back?
I'm back.
Hey, builders are gone. That's good.
Yay, they have.
Okay, brilliant. Welcome back, Jane.
Thank you.
So the floor is yours. Have you got any questions? There's a great one here from Pat that I wanted to ask. Can you see that one from Pat?
This one here?
Yeah, that's the one.
So did it upset you seeing how you died?
Does that normally upset clients?
Sometimes it does. I often say you'll take on what emotions you want to take on. And, you know, in my early days, I think I was frightened of upsetting people and having it being a bad experience. I wanted to always be really positive for them. But then quite a few clients actually said to me afterwards, oh, no, I'd like to experience all the emotions and have a good cry. I mean, I guess each to their own. But so I tend to say you'll experience what you're happy and what is right for you to experience when I come to the death experience. Some regressionists don't actually take them through to the death experience, but I think you haven't experienced the full spectrum of life unless you come to that moment.
So I know I've been sitting on the fence a little bit. I have had a regression experience myself. So for me, was it, you know, like Jane said, is it a narrative of the mind? But for me, it was so real. I felt like I was saying to you before we came on, Paul, I felt the motion of the boat that I was on, and it was around 1700s, but I could feel the motion. It was so relevant. It was interesting, but the way I died in this experience, I had a bit of a medical condition. And after I saw the experience and realized what it was, I've never had it since.
That's good.
So I believed I had asthma, but a doctor was like, even growing up, doctor, you don't have asthma. You don't have asthma. And then I saw this experience where I was on a boat, and below deck, and then times they used to have hot tile where they'd try to keep the boat watertight. And I got into a fight below deck. I don't know if I should admit this live on air. I got into a fight below deck. You can imagine the scene, kind of Pirates of the Caribbean, but the hot tar burnt through my chest.
Ooh.
So it fell onto me, the barrel, and it burnt through my chest, and that's how I died. So that feeling of off my chest went, and I never had it since.
Yeah,
so,
well, that's good. So, you know, I think it is incredible, and whatever people believe, if it stops, you know, your discomfort and stuff like that, it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, because it leads into what people have in this lifetime, isn't it? What people suffer on, phobias. You know, my friend's son, my partner's son, he doesn't like to be shut indoors, into toilets or lifts. He can't deal with that, claustrophobic. And he's had no fear from when that's happened before. It's just happened. And it's really interesting. So again, there was a program, I think, I can't think what it's called now, on Netflix. There was a series, and they looked at young children that had this experience. One little boy was murdered. And there was a gentleman in America that went round the house and was asking him questions. Every time this boy got it right, every time. The pictures, the details, his father, everything. It was amazing to watch.
And what is also interesting with children, they say, oh, children make up things and they say stories. And I remember, and you know, I do highly respect the man. I've seen his talks, but Dr. Richard Wiseman, if you actually do get a chance to see his talks, they are really funny. I highly recommend that
Dr.
you go.
Wiseman.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but he did experiment with children, sort of saying, you know, you can find out these things and it matches by asking children, just get them to pretend and make up. But what I noticed is all these children he was talking to would be smiling, it'd be like a fun game. But when you actually see the programs or see interviews where the children are talking about the past life, they are absolutely dead serious. There's not a smile, there's not that lilt. You know, when they talk about their dying, it's upsetting. You can tell it's upsetting to them, whereas it's almost like playtime, bit of fun to the children, which are just playing along with it and making it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to ask a question. Do you think that people can get through their phobias without doing a past life regression?
Yeah, there is an NLP technique. I mean, NLP is more than just techniques, but it's called the fast phobia cure. So you basically take somebody into a cinema, a safe space, and you get them to watch it by disassociating. So what I am seeing now, I'm associated in my body, I am looking. So an out-of-body experience will be a disassociated experience. So what you do with the phobias, if you didn't take it down the past life route, is to get the very first time, because it doesn't have to be a past life when the trigger happened. It could be this life, it could be seeing a mum or dad terrified of spiders when they were quite a young, influential age. So what you do, you take them out of that and you put them right in the projection box so they can see the back of their head, seeing the screen, and you get them to review it, play it backwards and forwards, rewind it really sort of fast in colour, play it slowly forwards, and basically scramble in their mind the memory of it, and throw in some humour in as well. So maybe the spider is, you have to choose what's funny for the person. So I wouldn't just say this is what funny. You find out what you find funny, somebody finds funny. So say they find like a clown, you kind of give the spider little red boots and a sort of clown's nose, and blow in like a streamer or something like that out of its mouth. And what you're looking for when you're doing this fast phobia techniques is people laughing, and if they're laughing at what they found funny to begin with, you know you're breaking it apart, that phobia.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so Julie's put, my boy is so serious when he talks about his past life, gets angry if we try to brush it off. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, Lou asked a question: have you ever met someone that you couldn't hypnotize?
Yes. Everybody can be hypnotized, but if they're determined to prove they can't be hypnotized, then they won't be. Everybody now recently is being hypnotized when I do like the past life regressions on them. I would say it's about 95 to 98% successful, but there is always that time when you get somebody and it doesn't work. But for those people that come and it doesn't work, I give them an MP3 of my voice to listen to, a regression, not the CDs I sell, but another MP3. Get them to listen to it for a while, then when they start to get something, then phone me back. And often people do get something after because sometimes people will get all stressed and put too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
But they're trying to come back another time. And I don't charge them extra for that. I just say just come back, because the few times it happens, it's worth booking another free one afterwards. But then again, even still, some will not get anything. So I say, if you don't get anything at all, you can get back to me, and if you want a refund, you can do. A lot of regressionists don't do that, but I think it's so rare that it actually happens that people don't get anything. It's worth doing it. In my early days, I just kind of would say, I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah.
But one person was really upset, and I thought, actually, for the little bit of that I'm going to lose from that, I think it's just better to offer that and not get that reputation going around.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Julie's asked, if you don't mind sharing, what's the most interesting past life regression you've done?
Right, that's an easy one. It was actually during a live. It got in several newspapers. It was Steve Mulligan. I mean, everyone, even mundane ones are interesting, but Steve Mulligan, if you put Steve Mulligan past life regression in Google, the story will come up. And he was Sydney Sutcliffe. He grew up, moved to Llandudno in a very early age. And he had visions of seeing his dad perform, Arthur, and the name that he gave was I can't remember what his stage name was now off the top of my head. I've got it all written down anyway. But he would see his father performing. His father was a performer, gave the house name where he lived, was describing Llandudno and everything like that. And what is really interesting is everything was right. Said that he became a lieutenant in the Flying Corps. The mistake actually and it's my fault because I sent a press release off, I said flight lieutenant. In fact, when you had the First World War, it was just known as lieutenant, not flight lieutenant. So people were picking up on that, but then I replayed the regression afterwards, and he never actually says flight lieutenant, he just says lieutenant. Also, another compelling thing about the story is that Steve and his girlfriend went to Llandudno afterwards to look and find where he may have grew up in this past life, and went to see where the old theatres were. And the sat-nav to take them to what would have been Sydney's house told them to drive straight on. But as they got close to it, Steve said, it's left here, we'll go left, and it says the sat-nav says straight on. And they said, all right, we'll trust the sat-nav, we just got this feeling to turn left. If they'd actually trusted him rather than the sat-nav, they would have gone straight to the house instead of all the way around to get to it. So that was quite interesting and quite compelling. So yeah, I mean, you can see that on my YouTube channel as well, and also the Paradox Club where the regression was originally done.
Brilliant. We'll check that out. Do you want to give a shout out for your YouTube channel while we're here?
Yes, please. So it's Past Life Regressions with Paul Goddard on YouTube. If you're interested in the NLP, I've got Paul Goddard NLP and Hypnotherapy there on YouTube. I do have like another channel as well. That's quite a random channel. That's Paul Goddard. So if you want the self-help or the past life regressions, then go to Paul Goddard NLP and Hypnotherapy, or for the past life regressions with Paul Goddard. I've also got Facebook and Instagram. On the Facebook, it is called Paul Goddard Past Life Regressions. I tend to be a little bit more active on YouTube, but I do link the links to my Facebook. Yeah, brilliant. Also, if people are really interested, guys, if you want to come in the studio and do the live regression so we can actually have a little bit of interaction when Paul finishes to see whether you've got anything or whether you felt something or had an experience, we would love you to come in. So we'll just give you a sort of 10 minutes or so warning. So if you've got your curlers in or you're in the bath, some people are in the bath watching. We've had that before. We have had a viewer come on and ask a question when they was in the bath. It was very funny. But yeah, no, we would love you to come in. And not in the bath though. Okay, so Laurie's asked a question. Hi, Laurie. Do you need multiple sessions usually? I believe that's feeding on from what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Yes. Well, no, you don't need multiple sessions. One is all you need. However, if you want to get more and more information from a past life, particularly because you get some people that anything you say is just like, where are you? And you click your fingers and they come out with it. Other people you get, where do you live? And it's London. And but I tend to find when you hypnotize them more often, then the regression becomes easier. And the more times you hypnotize, the deeper you go in it. I mean, when I do my live, I often do like a fractionation technique where I take people in and out of hypnosis to begin with. That helps get people deeper in hypnosis. But I find that when you particularly want to go back to the same life, because you can keep going back to the same life, more information comes out from it if you want to keep exploring the same life, which does happen. People do that, but I'd say the majority of people want to just jump in and do different ones, and you know, they're the clients. I give them what they want.
Yeah, brilliant. So Paul has asked, hi Paul, Have you ever regressed someone who then subsequently believes they are currently living the lifetime that they regress to? They take on the past life again.
No. Yeah, no, that I've not had that happen. So basically, they come out of it afterwards, and they're totally confused of who they are, and that they kind of still have elements of the past life. Is that what they're saying?
I think that's what Paul means. The
Yeah,
other
it hasn't.
question
No.
on that, Paul. Also, I think there's a book out there. A friend of mine was telling me today, Dr. Bruce Goldberg, past lives and future lives, which is something that we've not talked about. Do you find people can go into future lives?
They do. More people are interested in the past lives because, again, it's something that they can research. I'm open to all sorts of different things, and a lot of even scientists will say that time isn't just the straight line that we perceive it as. Even how time passes is different, because think about when you were a child, getting like to your next birthday seems to take forever, where it's like, my goodness, I'm another year older. It didn't seem 5 seconds since the last one. I mean, coming to Christmas, it doesn't seem 5 seconds ago since all the adverts came on this time last year. Also, as a fly, we'll see things slowly, whereas we see things quickly. But what is interesting is that, and do correct me if I'm wrong, if any child has said this, then please let me know. But I've never actually heard of a child talking about a spontaneous future life. It always seems to be a past life. But maybe during hypnosis for future lives, you're chapping into a possibility. You can never really check for future lives, although it'd be really interesting to write it down and see if it happens. But sometimes I also think that for future life, a little bit like the weather, there's a trend of what it could be, but there's also a lot of variation to what it could be as well. So, but I think it's something I'm always interested in experimenting, and I'm always interested in trying new things. So I think that if you just say, I only do this, you're keeping yourself in a little tiny box, and I think it's good to expand your knowledge and experiences. I do offer future past lives, but everybody seems to want to go to, 99% of the time people want to go back into the past.
Yeah, but is that something people are aware of, though, Jane, do you think? I mean, future lives, is that something? I mean, I believe that by being in the moment, potentially we can heal from the past and change the future. I believe in the power now. I think that's another philosophy as well. So, also, Sharon has asked a question here. Can you see Sharon's question?
Can, yes.
Oh, there it is.
So, are we able to dream a past life?
Sometimes I have clients had a recurring dream, and they go into the past life that same, but with more detail, exploring more of it, because the dream is often a particular section of a past life, and they're able to experience more than just what the dream is giving them. So I think it's a good possibility, and it does seem to indicate, at least some of the times, that happens.
Yeah, and Eddie's put a good question. Can you see Eddie's?
Yes. So have you ever had anyone recount a life on another planet?
I'm sure I did another time, but it was a bit vague and a bit kind of colours and a bit wishy-washy. I've not had it yet, but then I think basically your subconscious mind, because if you have a client and they're wanting to have pain disappear, particularly during an operation, you could hypnotize them to experience a pain-free, totally comfortable operation if they believe it. So if you're going to believe, and I don't like using the no word or the not word, but if they believe they're not going to experience any pain, they won't feel pain. However, if they're doubtful of it, then they will experience pain. So I tend to say things, if somebody's going in for an operation or going to the dentist, whatever happens, you just remain calm, relaxed and comfortable. That's all you do. Just focus on comfort whilst you're there. And that's a lot more easier for it to go through, rather than you not going to experience pain. I do say to them briefly at the beginning, it doesn't bother you, but I tend to not use negatives in the language that I do. So we were actually going somewhere with that. So remind me of what we were saying again.
So I think we were talking about a life on another planet, weren't we?
Yes.
Oh yeah, so that's where we were going with it. So sorry. I think for some people, particularly new to it, I think they kind of sort of reject that part. When they experience the corridor I take people to, there are lots of doors. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, even this time I could go future, forward, or back. Just to see what people get with it as well. Would be really interested. I'm more than happy to, as I'm always interested in experimenting. So, I find it's something that people don't usually wish to go to, another planet. Like a lot of people that I have are actually quite nice people, even if they've been horribly treated in the past life. And I tend to find those that actually are happy to go to a life where they're actually not quite a nice person are very spiritually developed, more so than me, because they're happy to go to that dark place because they're just so full of they've got themselves totally sorted now. And I think each of us does have that little bit of a darker side, saying something could get somebody's back and all those sorts of things. If they completely get rid of all that side of things for them, I think that they can just totally happy to go with that, knowing it's not them anymore.
Yeah. Going back slightly though, you mentioned about people coming on and talking about twin flame connections. Do you get a lot of that? And is that a thing? Do people come across their twin flame? Or
I personally,
Oh, by the way, Paul, this is a winner because everyone realised they got a twin flame. Everyone's going to be coming to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Please come to me if you think you've got a twin flame.
Yeah.
I tend to not say during the regression, do you have a twin flame? A couple of times people recognise somebody from another past life, but I tend to, unless somebody says I want to go down that, I don't really come across it an awful lot. Doesn't mean it's not there. I'm just coming from the perspective I do, and I've lost count. I've done thousands upon thousands of past life regressions, and I'm not coming to somebody who said, "Oh, they're my twin flame," or they're my soulmate, or anything like that. Doesn't mean it's not there, but that's not the information they're giving me. And I tend to talk about what I've experienced rather than what somebody else has said, like in a book. Not because I've dismissed it, but I'm an explorer and just finding what I've come across personally myself.
Yeah, so I mean, it's so. Do you know what, guys? Thank you so much for being so interactive. We love your questions, by the way. It's been brilliant. But I've got another one. I'm going to hog this. I'm sorry. I've got to ask this question. So, does your brain protect you? Can you imagine? Now, I've grown up knowing that Adolf Hitler was potentially one of the nastiest men in recent history. Can you imagine? You can regress back, and there you are. Everyone's saluting you. You're Adolf Hitler. You've got to come back and live with that. Does your brain not allow you to see stuff like that? Or you murdered someone. What if you murdered someone? You know, what if you honestly, the list goes on who you could have been.
I have come across somebody who was a Viking and they loved, one of their favourite things was going and pillaging the villages and drinking afterwards, and saying it's a really good thing. And they were, whilst they were in regression, they were totally they were totally loving it. They were totally loving it. It's not them at all, but they were happy to go to that. So I think it depends. I think your subconscious mind is really protecting you and will not allow you to go somewhere which you weren't. And I think there would be a fear that, I was this person. I'm not going to go there with that. Yeah. But it does happen. It does happen. Plus, as well, I think people mostly are nice. Most of the time. But it does happen occasionally where you get somebody but they tend to be the really spiritually aware people, which I say they're totally cool with going to that darker place.
Yeah. Sharon's asked, can you see that one? That's a good question.
Right, yeah.
So what has been the weirdest experience?
I've had a dragon trainer under regression, which was it was a regression that I did, and as I say, sometimes it takes people some time to go into that hypnosis, and I had a few others with me at the time. And it took for ages to get this person in, and they got it, and it was like absolutely, I was pleased they got something. And they mentioned a dragon in front of them, and I was like, oh no. And actually I don't laugh, but this time, because I think of the relief as well, I started I started to really try and hold back. I was biting my thumb as hard as I could. The other two that were in the room, including the friend as well, so there's 3 others in the room as well, were laughing, and they kind of realised that, afterwards, that we were laughing, and I just could not talk. But I did hear afterwards, and I want to try and retract the person again, but they did say, the person who originally organised this, that the person they regressed to was somebody who wrote fantasy stories, so, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, because again, it takes us back into the mind, going through the layers, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So guys, if you want to come in, the link is on there. We would love you to come in, start coming in, and we'll get ready for a live regression session. I'm just going to copy and paste again. It's going to be in there. We'd love you to come in. Don't worry, Paul's not going to get you to bark like a dog or run around like a chicken. He won't do that, I promise.
At the start of regression, anyway.
Yeah. We'll get nobody come on. Suddenly all our numbers
I'm joking.
No, it'd be great for you to come in. It really would. Some sort of done. What is Julianne's asking? Any chance something similar could be done on a child? Obviously, it would be a lot harder than just chit chat. Wouldn't want to pressure him. I believe Julianne's talking about her son.
How old is the son?
No, he's fairly young, about 4 or 5. I could be wrong.
I've not tried it on somebody that young. I would want the parents there, but I tend to find until they reach about 12, really, it's very difficult to get the focus. But I say write it all down. Also, I don't know if he talks in his sleep, but if you happen to, whatever comes out. I wouldn't say I would dismiss it offhand, but I tend to find it is so difficult, somebody that young, to get the focus. But if he is willing to do it later on in life when he's a bit older, then that might be the sort of time to do it. But yeah, definitely get everything down that he's talking now. And if potential, because we've all got mobile phones now, film it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Nick in the background. He's our first person to come on. Hopefully we'll get a few more before we go into it. I am pasting it. Jay said he can't see it on Facebook. It is going into Paul's Past Life Regression with Paul Goddard on YouTube, Jane Dance Medium on YouTube, and Spiritual Talk Live. Also, Jane's Facebook, Jane Dance Medium, and also Paul Bannister Medium on Facebook. Be great. You should be able to see the link. Nick is nodding his head, so I'm sure Nick has managed to get in. So good. We'll give it a few more minutes, and then we'll start.
And re-emphasising as well, if anybody has clinical depression, or epilepsy, or has some psychological nervous problems, then it's always best to speak to your doctor. I just wanted to say that again, just in case people missed that at the beginning when we were talking about it. If you don't have any of that, then you're totally fine.
Yeah, and Chris, if you see the link, it'll be in the comments section. Okay, so have a look in the comments. It should be a little duck that comes up, and it's on. If you're coming in on Paul's page, you should see it on Paul's as well, because Paul has also linked his page to tonight's broadcast. So, and if you're watching on catch up, I'm so sorry, you're going to miss this fabulous opportunity. But we've had a great. We've got another question here. Julianne is in. Awesome. Hi, Julianne. I think Stephanie is going to come in. Steph, I'm giving you a big shout. Are you coming in with Rhonda? Would deja vu is a spirit guide showing you something? Reincarnation theology can't explain where souls come from. Souls come from babies. Not sure about that. That's it. I'm a bit confused at that question, if I'm honest.
If you could put that down in a different way, that'd be really cool, please.
Yeah. Facebook user, because I don't know what page you're coming in from. My son was 8. He was struggling with something in particular. I did a small regression with him, and it was incredible what he said. Plus, it helped solve his problem.
Fantastic. And Facebook user, whoever you are, thank you for that. And did you record it or write it down? Because it's always important. It'd be nice to know a little bit more, please.
So one of us has got to hold the fort, Jane. Did you want to go for this as well?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm sure you'd be good though, Jane. I'm sure you'd have a really good experience. Oh, we've got John in as well. Hi, John. I think we've got enough people anyway to give it a go. I'm just going to drop out take that out. Well, I'm going to get the guys in. Good evening, everybody.
Hi there.
How are we doing? Thanks for joining us, guys. What I will ask, I'll be able to mute you from here, so you'll just be able to listen. But when we come out of the regression, we'll get you to give some feedback. That will be fantastic. All right. Awesome. You all look a bit scared. I got to be honest. Don't worry, you're not going to be guinea pigs. All right. If anybody else wants to come in, we might just leave it at the free. You've literally got about a minute before we're going to start. So if you want to come in, or you could try it at home. Okay. You could try it at home, and we'd love your feedback in the comment section. Okay. Yeah. So you can even turn your cameras off if you want to. Just come back on afterwards. We don't mind. All right. Just in case there's that worry in case you dribble, and you're live on camera. And Suzanne's going to try. She's excited. So excellent. I'm not sure if I should try this or not, Jane.
I think you personally should,
Oh, gosh. All right. And if I start levitating, can you let me know?
Certainly. Certainly.
I think we're ready, Paul. Over to you.
Okay, wonderful. So I just want to say beforehand that some people say they can't visualize. Everybody can visualize. Otherwise, when you got to your fridge to get food out, you'd be thinking, oh, is this what it looks like? So you've got that visual memory, what it looks like. Some people are brilliant at visualizing. Other people are less so good at visualizing. But each one of us has a sense that they're stronger to. So some people are more visual. Majority of people are more visual, so they'll be getting visions during a regression. Other people are more what's called kinesthetic, so they'll be getting feelings, sensing where they are. And other people also have hearing, so they'll be hearing more of what they're getting from a regression. However it comes to you, whether you're seeing, sensing, getting all three, allow it to come. Some people are more sketchy. Other people, it's pretty much like they're there. Although for most people, you're aware that you're you, you're aware that you're in a chair. Should for either of you watching or myself, if the internet cuts out, which it funny enough did the other day for the first time ever, whilst I was on with somebody, you'll eventually be aware that you're wondering why it's gone quiet, and your subconscious mind is always protecting you and keeping you safe, so we'll bring you out of that hypnotic state. So with that, just allow yourself to go with the flow. However you experience it, if it's just little sketchy memories or whether it's full in colour, whether it's black and white, just allow it to come to you however it comes to you. So with that, just give me a nod that you're happy to start. Yep, good, thank you. So if you close your eyes now, and I'd like you to, as you relax there, just imagine your eyes closing again. And notice where you feel the most comfort in your body. And as you slow down your breathing, you can imagine that nice, comfortable feeling spreading out like ripples in a pond. And with your eyes now closed, I want you to imagine and pretend that your eyes are locked, glued, closed. They are locked, glued, closed. And holding on to that imagination and relaxation now. In a moment, I'm going to ask you only when I tell you to try and open your eyes. And when I ask you to try and open your eyes, I really do want you to try and open your eyes, but all the time, I want you to keep pretending that your eyes are locked, glued, closed. They are locked, glued, closed. So holding on to that imagination and relaxation. Just test for me now that your eyes remain closed. Very good. And send that relaxation down to the tips of your toes. Just allow yourself again to take a even slower deep breath now. And in a moment I this time really I'm going to get you only when I tell you to open your eyes. But when I tell you to this time, I just want you to keep soft focus and instantly then close your eyes. And any relaxation you now feel, you increase that relaxation much, much more. So just open your eyes, soft focus, and close your eyes now. That's good. Close your eyes now and relax deeper. Okay, just 2 more times. Just open your eyes, soft focus, close your eyes, and deepen that relaxation. 1 more time there. Open your eyes and close your eyes and double the relaxation again. And you can feel now so very sleepy, so very relaxed. And using your imagination, when you just go to your very own healing, relaxing place, somewhere where you can just be, just relax deeply, seeing what you see, feeling what you feel. And this place can be a real place, or an imaginary place, or a combination of both. It's up to you. But here you're free to relax deeply in this beautiful, relaxing place. And as you relax here, you can be aware of my voice. You can be aware of yourself relaxing comfortably. You can be aware of yourself relaxing deeper and deeper and more deeply relaxed. And enjoy that relaxation now as I am quiet. That's right. And now you've relaxed the body. It's now time to relax the mind. And as your mind relaxes, your body relaxes. And as your body relaxes, your mind continues to drift and float. Deeper, relax now. Deeper, relax now. And there are 3 levels to relaxation, from A down to C. So I want you now to allow yourself to relax down. Down deeper now. Down deeper now. Down, drifting and floating. So sleepy. So relaxed. Deeper and deeper and deeper sleep. Down to floor A now. And enjoy that relaxation at floor A as I am quiet. Very good. Very good now. And now you allow yourself to drift even deeper down. Deeper now. Deeper and deeper to floor B. Drifting down, down, down. Drifting and floating. And floating and drifting down to floor B. And enjoy floor B as you relax even deeper and deeper and deeper in floor B now. That's right. That's right, deeper and deeper. And now we drift down to floor C now, your basement of relaxation. Down, floating, sinking, drifting, deeper and deeper relax now. Deeper and deeper. So sleepy. So relaxed. Deeper and deeper and deeper sleep. So sleepy. So relaxed. Deeper and deeper and deeper sleep. Down to your basement of relaxation, floor C now. And enjoy floor C as I'm quiet, as you continue to drift and float, deeper relaxed. Very good. And to help with the deepening process, I want you now to imagine yourself in your beautiful, relaxing place. And this place can be a real place or an imaginary, but here you're free to relax deeply, enjoying what you see. Relaxing now, relaxing deeper, either seeing, sensing or feeling. Relaxing now. And first of all, as you relax there, you can be aware of this year, 2022. On the count of 3, using your memory, most recent memory, I want you to visualize and remember yourself standing outside your front door of this lifetime in 2022, seeing out your own body, out of your own eyes. All right now, 1, 2, 3. Your front door of this lifetime, 2022. Seeing what you see, feeling what you feel, hearing what you hear. Take a few moments to see your surroundings now. Is it daytime or nighttime? Is it sunny or cloudy now? Now what I want you to do is imagine yourself floating up higher and higher. Higher and higher now. Safely higher and higher, so you're looking down on where you live, like a bird's eye view. Taking in what you see here now, what you feel here now, what you sense here now. Now you can imagine yourself floating back down slowly. And as you float back down, you relax deeper and deeper and deeper still. So you're back down on the ground where you started from. Very good. Very good. On the next count of 3 now, you allow your subconscious mind to come up with a corridor for you. And in this corridor, there'll be doors leading off to either side. And each of these doors leads to an experience back in time, back to before you were born, way, way back to a life you've lived before this one. Alright, now if you haven't already, that corridor your subconscious mind creates for you. 1, 2, 3. Seeing that corridor now, or feeling, experiencing that corridor now, with the doors leading off to either side. Take a few moments to experience your corridor. What do you see? What do you feel? And is there a door that you're most drawn to go through, to go back in time, back to that life you've lived before this one? So allow yourself to choose that door. Allow yourself to walk down to that door now. And as you walk down to that door, you relax deeper and deeper and more deeply relaxed. And I'll just allow a few moments to allow everybody to get to their door. Now on the count of 3, as you look at your door, as you take in, you see it or sense it, being aware that soon on the count of 3 the door open back to that past life, way, way back to that life you've lived before this one. Alright, now on the count of 3 the door will open. You'll be pleased and delighted with that, whatever you can sense or see through that door. 1, 2, 3. The door opens to your past life now. And allow yourself to see what you see through that door. What do you sense or feel, using what senses work for you? Now allow yourself to walk through, back in time to your past life now. And the door for now closes behind you. Take some time now to truly see or sense your surroundings. What do you sense or see? And to help ground yourself now, you're aware of your arms and your legs in this life. And you can ask yourself the question now, how old am I? And allow the answer to come to you. You can be aware now if you're male or female in this life. Now the next count of 3, your name will come to you, what they call you in this life. 1, 2, 3. What is your name? And maybe you allow yourself or family name to come to you now. And where in the world are you? Allow the answer to come to you now. Where in the world are you? And now allow the year to come to you. That happens now. What year is it? Allow these answers to come to you. Now, staying with this lifetime, at what age you are now, I want you to move to where you call home, where you live, where you rest your head at night. If you haven't already, allow yourself to go to that 1, 2, 3. That place now. Taking in your surroundings and ask yourself, is there anyone else that lives with you in this place? There may be, there may not be, but allow the answer to come to you and any visions of this now. Very good. And now to allow yourself to see what you look like. You can look at yourself in either reflection, in a mirror, water, any shiny object where you can see how you look. And that happens staying with this lifetime. 1, 2, 3. Staying with this lifetime. How do you look? And taking time to notice your facial features now. Very good. And whilst you're looking at yourself now, just be aware of any extra details that might come to you where you're looking at this now and what's going through your mind now as you look at your reflection of yourself. Now, staying with this lifetime, to go back to your earliest memory in this lifetime. 1, 2, 3. Your earliest memory staying with this lifetime. How old are you in this early memory now? See what you see. Be aware now and feel now where you are, what is happening in your early memory. Allow yourself to fully experience this now as I am quiet. Very good. And now you can ask the question, allow yourself to move to that time, what you did most of in your life, what you spent most of your time in your lifetime doing. Allow yourself to go to that time now. 1, 2, 3. How you would describe either most of your work, most of your daily activities, whatever that is, that comes to you now. And what age are you now as you're experiencing this? Very good now. And staying with your lifetime, this lifetime now. I want you to go to your happiest memory. 1, 2, 3, your happiest memory. Seeing it, experiencing it, feeling it. If you've gone to a happy memory now, what was it about this memory that was so happy and important to you? Allow that experience to come to you now. That's good. Allowing that information to come to you now. Good. And now we move to another time staying with that lifetime. Time when you learned a valuable lesson. You can go to that now. A time when you learned a valuable lesson. And what is that valuable lesson? And what have you learned from that valuable lesson that may well help you in other lives? Allow the information to come to you now. And allow, if it's appropriate, that valuable information to go deeper in you. Very good. In a moment now, we'll move forward to your last year of living, allowing what emotions you're happy to take on. But just allow yourself to go to your last year, staying with this lifetime now. 1, 2, 3. Your last year. How old are you? What's happening right now? And as you reflect over your life experiencing, allowing any snapshot from your life to come to you now, that maybe I haven't asked you, you can be aware of these questions. What are the places you lived at? Did you marry? Did you have children? How would you describe your lifetime? And any message now from your higher, miraculous self, allow it to come to you now as I am quiet. Very good. And soon you're going to come out of this experience just having a vague recollection, as this is a group session, of how you passed in this life. Now, On the next count of 3, knowing you've had that full life cycle, we're going to go back to that corridor you started from with the doors leading off to either side. 1, 2, 3. And I can ask this question for you, which we'll talk about once you've come out of this deep relaxation. If you need any healing, just let me know, and that's something I can certainly do with you after this relaxing session has finished. But for now, you're aware that the door is closed, and all other doors for now are closed to your past life, your past lives, but can be reopened whenever you wish to. Soon I'll bring you out of this nice, deep, relaxed state. I'm going to count up from 1 to 3. On 3 and only 3, your eyes will be open. You'll be alert, refreshed, ready for the rest of your day or evening whenever you're watching this, experiencing this. You'll remember everything in the session with crystal clear clarity. All right now. 1, becoming aware of your hands resting comfortably. 2, small movements in your body signaling it's soon time to awaken. As you're coming round, you'll be reinforcing every single positive thought you've ever had about yourself. Get ready to awaken now on 3, eyes open, alert, refreshed, and ready for the rest of your time. You may well wish to, if there's any water nearby or something, can get you some water. Just sip some water as you come out of that experience. And do let me know if anybody wishes to receive any extra healing after this light's finished, because I will certainly do that. Welcome back to 2022.
Oh. I see we lost Julie, so hopefully Julie's okay.
Yeah, I
Probably
just
right,
noticed
Julie.
you disappeared, so yeah.
My phone died and poked me to tell me. Oh,
Oh, right. Oh, dear.
your phone has died. Okay. So would anyone like to share their experiences? Is anybody that, if I can just unmute you guys.
Unmute.
Who
Hello.
wants to-
Hi, Nick. I wasn't Nick that spoke.
Was that
Hi,
Nick or
John.
John?
I think it was
John.
John spoke.
Oh,
Hi,
sorry.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. How are you? Thank you for that. Yeah, I just 30-year-old living in London. With 3, there was 3. I didn't get the connection. What it was? Servant, female, Jacqueline. You know, yeah, it was a bit surreal, but it was cool. Yeah.
You was a female, John, was you?
I was a female, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was a cleaner or housemaid. That I could mess. That's what I could work out, and it was just hustle bustle on the streets and all that. You know, pretty close encounters, whatever was happening.
So, did you have any sense of time?
1870.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Good.
That came in very sharp for some reason. I wasn't quite sure at that stage. It just start popping in.
Fantastic.
It started coming in a lot clearer then. You know, I was getting the answers in my head. They're just popping in.
Awesome.
That's what that. Yeah, and then I just went into my childhood experience, my trauma. Tried to work on that. It was actually it's a weird thing to say, but it's actually from a jab, from a vaccine.
Oh,
okay.
It was my first trauma, like from a vaccine, so it's mental, like. And I went into that, and I hadn't been thinking about that, and that came up into that, and then I brought it into the happy memories, you know, up into my teenage years, living in the countryside, where I still live. Like I've never moved from this area in 51 years. Like I've lived within a kilometre, and it's a countryside, and I've moved a few times, but I've never left. And it's a pretty strong area, you know. There's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. That was. Thank you.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
Thank you, John.
How about you, Nick? What would you like to share?
Yeah, I got a surname. It was short,
Okay.
and it was all I could hear was. So I got it in like 1943. So I could hear sort of like guns firing. But it's all around sort of like the early memory was sort of based about being a 5-year-old, and it's in Bethnal Green.
Wow.
But the rest of it it's all a bit hazy after that.
So 1943, was you fighting?
Well, I couldn't see. All I could hear was sort of, you know, like planes going around and like the guns going off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for that.
No, it's good. Sounded like I had a more auditory kind of aesthetic experience that some people also get it.
It's
more
definitely
like
an
that as well.
experience.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
And Paul, what about you though? Did you?
I was going to say, anybody at home, if you want to share it, just write it in the chat. Even when we go off air, people will still be able to see the comments afterwards. So we'd love to hear your experiences. But so I don't know whether I had a block. So I went, honestly, I just went. I don't know what I was doing. And I went so deep, like I was in a womb. That's the only way I can describe it. And I don't know where I was, what I was doing. It was just like I was in a state, and like I've been asleep for the last. I've just realised we've been gone about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
I just remember there was at one particular point I was so relaxed and so in the right space. It just. It's just I was quite happy to say that, and then I've lost consciousness. That's the only way I can express that. I lost consciousness, so I don't actually know what happened, if I'm honest. So I have no recollection of memories, sounds, noises, just in this dark space.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So when I have people either online or in chat, it's an individual one-to-one. You can kind of time and see better how deep they're going, because you did look quite deep. Also, as well, you're in a smaller picture than I would do. It's just one-on-one. So when you have somebody there, you can know how deep to sort of take them and just ask a few more questions. You know, if they look like they've gone too fast, are you still with me? Kind of thing like that.
Yeah, so Sharon's put my head nodded off a few times. So.
It did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I fell asleep. Maybe I went into it. I didn't feel like asleep, but suddenly I became aware of you now come back, become aware.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have been asleep.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
There is also some people do go really deep. It's actually called, it sounds more frightening than it is, but it's called Esdel's coma state, where literally they drop right down as far as you can possibly go in hypnosis, and they're just not aware of anything. And nobody was with you, but you can always tell when somebody's in that state. One, if you pinch their arm, they don't react in any way. You know they're in it, and also so you can lift somebody's arm up, and when you're in that state, it will just completely stay there, you know, and you can stay like that for ages. Yeah, it could have been you.
That's what it felt like I just didn't know where I was, like I wasn't conscious, or well, you know, when you can go into meditation. Yeah, I was really deep. Chris has asked, would that be a beta or delta state?
Well, doubt it, because I do the from, you know, normal waiting consciousness beta down to alpha to theta to delta. I mean, I think there is, some people say there's even one below that. But there's also other hypnotherapists I've done both ways of training, where hypnosis is somnambulistic state, and then below that is Esdel's coma state. But yeah, probably in delta, or maybe even just a bit lower than that.
Brilliant. So I'm not sure what that was for, whether, because I struggle with doing trance, and I always go off and I'm out, and I'm not sure what happens, but I must get that sorted. Do you ever experience that though? Sorry, Paul, we could be all not asking you minutes.
No, I'm more than happy to answer questions as long as people are interested. Yeah, I'm happy to go for it.
Yeah, well, in a trance state, then, I mean, have you seen people go into trance that come through with spirit? Is that something you even believe in that process? Because obviously your experience.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in it. I actually find mediums are quite good. Again, they're like the people who you say just close your eyes and go into a trance, and they're pretty much there anyway without me needing to do anything. I've seen mediums do the transfiguration where like the facial things change, and at one point I used to go to a lot of paranormal events. But all the mediums I've seen, they've tend to be more picking up from spirits. It tends to be more platform work that they do. Although a good friend of mine, watching Hello Lana, I know that she does some channeling stuff, so it'd be interesting to be there. But I also aware that people, it may be like a private thing they're doing as well. But if anybody's happy to demonstrate that for me, I find it very interesting. I do notice that people do get themselves in that lower brain frequency, and you can see them going off to what looks like me hypnosis anyway when they're going, and at least what I've seen with like the transfiguration trances.
See, I've done that. I've done transfiguration before, and someone has mentioned there was a gentleman over my face. So whether that was because I'm something that I can do naturally, I don't know, but it was really interesting to go so deep. And like, I don't know what I was doing, where I was, or who I was. I had nothing. There was nothing.
Yeah,
that was awesome. And to do it live on Spiritual Talk, that's a little bit weird.
I'm glad you know you didn't get anything. It was awesome for you.
It was. It was because it was also like a state of deep relaxation.
Yeah,
but I wasn't aware of I was in that state. So that's the only way I can explain it. And I agree. Rhonda has put on here tonight has been totally amazing.
Thank you, Rhonda.
It has. It really has. And I can't agree more. Paul, it's been absolutely brilliant. Do you know, we've been going an hour and 40 minutes.
Yes.
And I know, Paul, you're live again tonight, aren't you? You're going out on a show in America.
I am, yes, yeah. The Warren Files, which is going to be really good. So the Warren, the cases that... I mean, the Hollywood side of it, which is not the Warrens at all, is like the Conjuring, 30 East Drive, when the lights went out. That's kind of the Warren cases obviously turned to make it more sort of Hollywood. But the grandson, Chris, still continues. And the idea is that they really go out there and help people. And it's kind of just, it comes from a very good space. So I'm on that talking about reincarnation tonight as well. So
is that going to be live on your YouTube page?
It's not going to be on my YouTube page, but if they look up the Warren Files, if you type that in, you should see it up, and reincarnation, you should see the live coming up soon. If my friend Lana's in there, you can put a little question, a little comment to make it pop up for people, please. So it's on Facebook and YouTube.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, thank you ever so much, Paul. We can't thank you enough for that and demonstrating your ability. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And we're back this time next week. Well, I'm actually not back, Jane. It's you and Alice, isn't it?
Yes, that'll be exciting.
Next week. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's the amazing Andy Bing is the guest. So we look forward to seeing Andy on Spiritual Talk. But for now, everyone, we'll see you. Well, I'll see you in 2 weeks. But we're back.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah, next week. Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.